This is Seeing Red, now in our 15th season of bringing you the best in independent Red Bulls news and opinion. Now, here are your hosts, Mark Fishkin and Joe Goldstein.
It's true. It is Mark Fishkin and Joe Goldstein. And, you know, the Red Bulls went into Columbus on a big head of steam, feeling up for the challenge of playing the MLS Cup champs in their place. And 90 minutes later, they came back home with their tail firmly between their legs after receiving a 3-0 drubbing that illuminated just how far they have to go to be considered an elite MLS team. It's Seeing Red. I'm Mark Fishkin. I'm here with Joe Goldstein. How are you, Joe?
I'm really good despite, the drubbing Columbus handed to the Red Bulls. I think that I'm more upbeat because of the progress we've made so far. And, this week or last week and this week are touch and go, but I'm satisfied at the progress.
All right.
Yeah.
Tonight on Seeing Red, we'll go inside the loss to Columbus. It won't be pretty. Yeah. Will we have a Bull of the Week? Watch and see. We'll give our preview of what we could possibly expect from Miami this week. Half of their team is gone. Half of our team is gone. It'll be interesting. Our guest tonight, in his 10th season with Red Bulls Radio, mind-blowing. A decade of Red Bulls Radio. It's Matt Harmon, play-by-play voice of the New York Red Bulls, and your emails as well, as it says below. Please like and please subscribe. Our subscriber numbers continue to grow on the YouTube, and we appreciate it. It's really easy to do. Just find us, hit subscribe. You'll get all our emails first. And so, once again, New York went into Columbus, and it just became very apparent over the course of the first half that we were the second best team on the field.
Yeah.
And when you've got sixes like Darlington Nagbe and Aiden Morris, who is an improving young central defensive mid for Columbus, just holding the ball, out possessing New York, just having all of the ball. And from a tactical standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from a psychic standpoint, New York just didn't bring it. The defense was shredded. The midfield was overloaded. We're outpossessed 60-40. And, traditionally New York does not necessarily need to have the ball, but and that 40% really didn't kick in until the game was out of reach.
Yeah.
They were outshot 13-3. And you rarely see New York concede straight up the gut the way that they did on this night. What were your thoughts?
I think, Kyle Duncan had a miserable
Tough
game.
Tough night.
He was constantly following the wrong player, and they did this to him like 3 times, I think, in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Where, they would draw him up and dink it to
Yaboa.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it worked every time. And, fool me once, shame on me.
Right.
Fool me twice. Oh no. Whatever.
It's okay. It's okay. All right, W. We know what you meant.
Yes, I W'd.
Yes,
definitely. But I think had Sean been there, he would have straightened out the back line. I don't think Andres Reyes can play a terrific game, but he's lacking in organization, and that played a huge part in the loss. And I think not only were they they were out of position constantly. But it actually felt like the Red Bulls got Red Bulled.
Yeah, I think that's right. They certainly didn't help themselves with really poor passing
Yeah,
statistics. It seemed for a time that New York couldn't figure out which guys were wearing the yellow, whether it was, Columbus in the traditional yellow. And by the way, why in the world
yes,
were the Red Bulls wearing yellow in Columbus? It made absolute. I don't know who made those decisions. It was Columbus themselves that said we're going to wear black tonight, so you have to wear your molded cheese kits. But it looked funny, you know. And even with this kind of the schooling that New York got, they're down 1-0. You think, okay, New York can play their way into the game. Schwartz was changing the formation a little bit.
yeah,
He was tried a number of times to switch up how the team was playing. And Lewis sadly had a bad giveaway in the center of the field, and Reyes was caught flat-footed, and there you go.
yeah.
And at 2-0, the game's over, and at 3-0, that the game was surely over. New York had again one shot attempt in the first 70 minutes of this game. I just don't remember. It seemed like over the last couple of years, the number of times they've been just completely smoked is relatively small. I mean, coming out, blowing late leads, sure. Going down one early and not being able to come back, sure. But like 3-0, I'd have to go back and look. I probably should have.
Orlando
Right
at
in the
home.
Open Cup.
No, at home in MLS play last year.
Okay.
There, it was embarrassing,
Okay.
and I think that we saw the cracks laid bare with the over reliance on the starting 11 being healthy and
Yep.
making it through this season. And I think Lewis Morgan showed that like he still has a ways to go, despite 2 weeks of kind of perfection. They were those were not smoke and mirrors, but
No, a player working his way back into
yeah.
form, and he wasn't there yet. He's not.
And
He's not there, but he's
he's
player.
riding the high of
Yeah.
being back on the field and scoring a goal, and um, it takes time, and you were reminded that again and again in this match.
And again, this is the class of the league.
Yeah,
This is a team that knows who they are. They've gone through their transition. They've built. They've won a trophy, and it really just, again, as I said in the open, it just shows the distance between these two sides right now. And that's not necessarily a surprise
yeah,
or a horrible thing. This is a team that you're the defending champs. You're a veteran team with guys like Darlington Nagbe, right, who makes every team better. And among the things that I did like, I mean, yes, the game was out of reach when Dennis Yangor came on, but he certainly, I mean, he has one of the Red Bulls shots in this match, right? That came really late, but
yeah,
but he showed the one thing that we didn't see, and I'll talk to Matt Harmon about this. We really didn't get to see the speed that had been advertised because the game state wasn't
yeah,
there to have him break out. And also the other thing was Emil Forsberg was working in the 80th minute. He kept
yeah,
working.
yeah,
He was really showing the pure professionalism in terms of, guys, this is what you have to do. It doesn't matter if you're winning 3-0, you're losing 3-0. You are expected to be busting your butt the whole game, and he did. So again, the team wasn't going to go undefeated across 34 games, and if you're going to lose, probably losing at the MLS Cup champ away, not a big surprise. I think everybody was very clear after the match. Schwartz, Emil Forsberg, we didn't deserve anything tonight. This was a learning game. We have to be able to raise ourselves. I don't think they were reading their own press clippings for sure, but they got drilled. And when they face Columbus again, which will be later in the season, we'll really get to see what this year meant. So the question I have for you, sir, is do you have a bull of the week on a night when New York takes two shots and doesn't score and loses by 3?
Any traveling fans, they're the bull of the week. Yeah,
100%. 100% traveling fans. Well done. Inter Miami is the opponent this week, and let's pull up some cool stuff so we can dig into Inter Miami. We're going to take that down. We're going to put that up. Hold on. I'm going to put this over here and put that over there. Okay. Saturday at 2:00. And by the way, if you hadn't been made aware, the weather for Saturday is for more rain. In fact, the only day over the next week that will be raining will be Saturday in the middle of the day when this game is going to be played. It's at 2:00 at Red Bull Arena. Red Bulls host Inter Miami. Miami is 3-1-1 for 10 points. They're first in the MLS East, 3 points and 5 places above New York. They've scored 13 goals in 5 matches. They've conceded only 5 times. It's the best attack in MLS. And away from Chase Stadium, which when you say it really quick, Chase Stadium, it sounds to me, a former Met fan, like Chase Stadium. That's not what it is. It's Chase Stadium. Last year, of course, a very strange year as Messi arrived in late summer. They won the League's Cup. They made it to the U.S. Open Cup final where they lost to Houston, and they missed the playoffs despite seemingly every single team in the East making it. No, 9-14. They didn't make the playoffs. The stats from last year are so wackadoo, principally because it was 2 different seasons for this team, one with Messi and one without. A lot of changes, as you can imagine, between these last 2 years, as Miami not only needed to change the lineup to improve, but they also, because they were, let's just say, right up to the line with challenging the roster rules, they had to let go of some guys in the middle of this season or the start of this season to get under the salary line. Jean Mota went to Brazil. DeAndre Yedlin, who started the season with Miami, went to Cincinnati for like a ham sandwich and a bag of balls. Gregoire, who had played against the Red Bulls, Brazilian midfielder, went and joined Botafogo. LGP, Leandro Gonzalez Perez, one of my least favorite people in the last decade in MLS, who spent 2 years on loan at River Plate, joined them on a permanent basis, and Kamal Miller was traded to Portland. And in came, Luis Suarez came in, the veteran Uruguayan bitey machine was brought in from Gremio to play with his old Barca pals. Julian Gressel signed from Columbus. Not too shabby going from the MLS Cup champs to Miami. Nicolas Freire was signed from Pumas. He's an Argentine youth starlet. Federico Redondo came from Argentinos Juniors. And it's safe to say, a lot has changed, but still, Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets have been key for the club with Suarez. This is Barcelona, 2015, making this a very, very dangerous team. Suarez has 4 goals and 3 assists in the league and 3 goals and assists in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Without Messi, these players are the ones that are going to be key to the success of Inter Miami. And again, we'll get into just how wackadoo and how many players will be out. Aside from the veterans, they have a young South American core like Redondo, like Diego Gomez. They'll both miss this week's game against the Red Bulls. Argentine defender Tomas Aviles has been a regular for them back. Homegrown Ben Kramashi is out with an injury. Drake Callender, who is in U.S. camp. And, we have to say, and I am not watching live, but Corey Burke with one of his strongest finishes since wearing the New York Red Bulls uniform for the United States with the own goal in the 96th minute, sending the match to overtime. Do you have the game on?
No.
No? All right.
Yeah.
Well, all right. It's all good. What a dreadful match. American midfielder Lawson Sunderland has begun to appear regularly for Miami and will likely start this weekend. In the last 5 games, 3-1-1 in MLS. Taylor scored, Gomez scored in a win over RSL on opening day. Then they drew Miami on a Messi goal in the 92nd minute. Then they drilled Orlando 5-0, 2 for Messi, 2 for Suarez, 1 for Taylor. Then they took their lone loss in Montreal, which was a bit of a surprise. They were down 3-1 in this match. Jordi Alba made it decent, and then they won at DC with Suarez 2 goals, and they got by Nashville in the first round of the CONCACAF Champions Cup for them, with Suarez with 3 goals in that 2-match series. Let's just look at the history quickly. It's the 9th meeting all time. Remember, this team started in 2020. This team was born into COVID. New York leads 5-3 all time. They've never drawn at Red Bull Arena. The teams are 2-2. The away side has won the last 2 in the series, and these are the last 2 games. The last time they played, of course, was Messi Mania at Red Bull Arena, where people literally made thousands of dollars selling these tickets to Messi frontrunners. A 2-0 loss for New York at home, and then the last time they won was the first game the two teams played in Miami. A Tom Barlow goal on May 1st of last year. Omir, Fabio, and Klamala are all-time leaders against Miami with 2 each, and Morgan and Danny Edelman, of course, who is away with a goal. Here is a look at who is not going to be there this weekend, this Saturday, in the rainy Saturday. Miami has 12 players missing. Messi is injured. If he was healthy, he would be away with Argentina. They're playing in Philadelphia over the weekend. Kramashi, Negri, Freire, as I mentioned earlier, and Robinson, Calendar, spelled incorrectly, my apologies. Gomez, Redondo, Ruiz, Borgelin, and Israel Boatwright are all with their respective international teams. For the Red Bulls, it's going to be a question mark. At practice today, both Van Zier and Serge Goma and Ryan Mera were fully integrated and getting ready. I asked Shores directly what was going to happen with goalkeeping. Was it going to be Mera? Was it going to be AJ Marcucci we're going to see on Saturday afternoon as Mera continues to come back from injury? And for the first time, Shores was coy about his lineup. Previously, over the last couple of weeks, he was very, very clear, saying, "Oh, he's starting," or "Oh, he'll be on the bench." But we didn't get that. So, the questions obviously abound about, I can't see Goma playing in this game. I can see Van Zier playing in this game if the game state warrants it. But, again, no Forsberg, no Ayala, no Coronel, no Token, no Edelman, no Burke. Forsberg played the last 29 minutes in Sweden's loss to Portugal today. Here's who we could see from Miami really quickly. Carlos Dos Santos, who has 1 goal against in 1 game this year. Jordi Alba will play. Noah Allen, young American. Sergei Kristov from Ukraine. Ryan Saylor, an American. Julian Gressel at the right wingback position. Busquets in the middle with Lawson Sunderland. Young American Thomas Aviles, the youth international. Robert Taylor actually declined a call up to Finland in order to play with Miami, and then he'll be up top with Luis Suarez. And so, the question really becomes, Joe, asked today, Shores was just like, I don't even know. We're just going to be the best team we can because we have no idea what we're going to see. And, nor can we. So they're going to roll the dice with who they have. There are a lot of players like Dennis Yangor who might get a start, like Cam Harper, who's been hurting for minutes. I don't know what they're going to do in the back. I'll tell you that Sean Nealis was practicing today. So, is this a game to take seriously? New York, I can see New York losing 3-0 again and being like, all right.
Robert Taylor was... I'm more interested in what he's going to do today or this weekend because he is their finisher.
Yeah.
I don't. It's hard to take this game seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that plenty of guys will have minutes to spread it around,
Mhm.
and we can see them and make judgments on them. But um, you know this this game is like at the wrong time of the season,
Yeah.
and you know I think that I think that Mira will start. I think that Sean and Dylan will be the center backs,
Mm.
and Frankie is going to be in front of them. But I have no idea what the rest of the team is going to look like, and um, it it's sad to say, but it doesn't matter.
No, no. I mean, you'll hear from Matt Harmon. I think Stroud could fit really nicely into Edelman's role. As he's played that lots before for
Yeah.
New York. I think Kyle flips to the left again. I could see Cam Harper playing right-sided wing back.
Yeah.
I think Yangor will likely get a start. I think whether Lewis plays as the 10 in a one forward setup, or if they throw Van Zier on and they just say, let's just try and see what we can create here. It's a shame because obviously this could have been a big, intense game.
Yeah.
And shame on MLS for scheduling this during the international break. They knew when the break was when they put the schedule together. There's no reason you couldn't have there's no reason the team couldn't be in Cincinnati this week and then have this match next week. But that's the way they did it. And I think it will be a chance again for players to prove themselves. Yeah. And a team with Alba and Busquets and Luis Suarez, you would think would have certainly an edge on anybody that New York throws. So let's go right to predictions. And we're just going to predict this game because we're running long today. So what do you think?
2-0 loss.
2-0 loss. I'm going to call it a wild 2-2 draw.
And if it's close, the refs will help them.
There you go. I like it. When we're back on Seeing Red, we're going to talk to Red Bull Radio's own Mark Harmon, celebrating a decade behind the mic. Stay here. We are back on Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. So humbled, I think, after what we saw on the field in Columbus, and very, very happy to welcome back for the first time in 2024 a man who has started his 9th season, Matt, as the voice. 10th? A decade of Red Bulls Radio. Please welcome back to the show the play-by-play voice of the Red Bulls on Red Bulls Radio, Matt Harmon. Matt, how is this possible? Because I think you're getting younger while I'm getting older. How is this happening?
It's good to see, Mark, that you figured out how to really make people feel warm and fuzzy when they come on. Definitely not getting any younger. Yeah, 2015 is when we started. So this is
oh my goodness.
This is our 10th year.
That's a lot of times talking with Steve Jolly. How is that for you?
Listen, there's good and bad to it, right? I mean, he, in all seriousness, he's become one of my dearest friends, and almost like he's a couple years younger. So I have to say, almost like a little brother. Although I think we trade back and forth as to who can steer the ship a little bit better, depending on the circumstance. But I will say this: the actual work part is tremendous, and I have said this publicly, and I will always say it. I think he is one of the very, very best at what he does. On the radio, he sees the game. We view the game the same way. And at this point, I mean, listen, after working together for 10 years, I can finish his sentence and he can probably finish mine. So yeah. It's been a really nice partnership that we've been able to create and work together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's turn our attention to this year's team. Obviously, I think a lot of expectations raised over the first 3 matches of the season. They get 7 points with 2 matches on the road. It's a challenging assignment going into the home of the MLS Cup champs. But New York traditionally has always played Columbus really tight, and it was tight for a little while, but then I think it was I think Sandro Schwartz's side was really kind of solved.
I think, at least for the day, it was not a great performance. And I listen, the one thing I will say that I really appreciated after the game was whether you talked or heard from coach or Emil Forsberg, who talked after the game during the course of the week. I know you were at training this week as well. No one is going to put their hands up and do one of those, hey, we were just unlucky, bad bounce of the ball. We played really well.
Yep.
It was pretty much, we didn't play well. We didn't have a good day. Columbus is very good, to their credit. And listen, it was probably a game that, as Steve and I did talk about, you would really rather have these games in March, knowing, hey, if this is the measuring stick, and I think that's something that I brought up on our pregame and then during the broadcast. If you look at these 4 games, Columbus, Miami, Orlando, Cincinnati, that's the 4-game stretch that Red Bull's in the middle of. A lot of people probably would have said at the beginning of the year, hey, give me the 4 best teams in Major League Soccer in the East. You probably would have picked those teams in some order, one way or the other. You're going to know after the first weekend of April exactly where you stand, because you are playing the best teams, in essence, in the East.
Yeah. And as you said, Matt, they were very, very upfront about the fact that it was a learning experience for them. I think for Schwartz, definitely a learning experience. And you saw at different times during the match, tinkering done, adjustments done by the coach to try and stop the bleeding a little bit. Obviously, after a number of subs are made, the game is in essence out of reach, and New York's able to hold on to the ball a little bit more and do some interesting things. Now this Saturday, it's a real strange one. New York is going to be missing 6 players. Miami, I think Michelle Kaufman in Miami Herald said that as many as 8 members of Inter Miami aren't going to be there. Of course, Messi. And of course, there are a number of very, very talented veterans, names on the world stage that will be playing. It's a game that earlier today, Schwartz said, it makes no sense to try and prepare for what Miami might show. We just have to kind of be the best we can with who we have on the day.
And I think that's going to be the case for both teams, to be honest with you, Mark. I mean, I know you were at the Open Cup game last night. We called it on the radio last night as well. And listen, at the end of the game, the immediate tension is, what do you think about on Saturday? Bits and pieces, you can probably figure out the 11 that Red Bull will start within a player or two. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea who Miami's going to play, because all right, if you said anywhere between 6 and 8, maybe it's 6 to 9 players who aren't there, as good as Miami is in their 11, after that, there's a lot of question marks in that team and on that side, where who is the next 11 for Miami? Now, you mentioned they're going to have guys there, Suarez, Alba, Busquets. You put those guys in pen in terms of the lineup, but that's 3 out of 11. I mean, after that, there's a lot of question marks clearly for both teams, but I think it's almost a little bit more curious for Miami who they're going to play and throw out there. And listen, the one thing that you hope that Red Bull can lean into, they're home, right? And we saw a good performance out of them against FC Dallas in the home opener. You hope that translates over, because in this stretch where you're playing 5 of the first 7 games on the road, you got to make sure that, all right, you didn't get anything in Columbus. Orlando's going to be tough. Cincinnati's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Hang your hat on the fact that at minimum you got 3 points at home against Miami.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you, who do you think? I mean, we talked to Coach today, and he was very upfront, and Lewis Morgan was upfront as well, as saying, listen, this is an opportunity for players that usually don't get to start or don't get to see a major amount of time on the field to make their mark. For me, Cam Harper is the type of player that has yet to really, I guess, has suffered a little bit with the players that New York has brought in. He hasn't really been able to get into the starting lineup. Who are the other guys that you think might show a little bit that don't ordinarily get a whole lot of time?
Well, I think if you're looking now, I think part of that question is, does New York stay 4-2-3-1?
Yeah.
Does they go 4-2-2-2? That probably adds a little bit of a dimension to what the lineup could look like. I think Cameron Harper, yes, is a good one to maybe hang your hat on. I think the interesting thing, and maybe the assumption would be Peter Stroud slides inside with Frankie Amaya because Daniel Edelman's out. Does Stroud maybe show differently as a 6 or 8 as opposed to being outside as one of the 10s or in a 4-2-3-1 as a winger? And then I think after that, the biggest question is who's playing up front and who's going to get an opportunity, because someone is going to get a chance, whether it's a Rold Mitchell, Dante Van Zer, I think, is expected to be back. You've got Manuel, and whether they play 2 up top or 1 up top, I would expect that someone else is going to get an opportunity. I think the one guy that, again, not being at training today where I know most of the media was, I think the one guy that the door is wide open for this week is Dennis Yangor. I think that's the guy that, all right, got a couple minutes against Columbus, throw that out the window, because when he came in, the game was in essence already in hand. He's the one guy that if he starts or plays a second half or plays more than 45 minutes, you're hoping to get a little bit better of a read, because right now we don't have it. That's the one guy I think is a little bit of the X factor in the lineup going into the game on Saturday.
Especially consider that Younger's key attribute, or at least one of the things that attracted New York to him, was his speed, which we really did not get to see at all during his kind of mop-up appearance against Columbus. And it wasn't a match that would have lent to that. And certainly in that game state, he did take one of New York's few chances on net and certainly saved, but at a night when New York was really struggling to put anything together from an attacking standpoint, it was good. For me, the other question, Matt, is who's well enough to go in the net. Earlier today, Schwartz was very uncommittal about who he might see. He did say that Ryan Mara was back. We did see him on the field training. It would be interesting to see the veteran get the call, or even AJ Marcucci, who I think many see as the heir apparent to the goalkeeping role at the club. He's done very well. He played certainly well with RB2 in their game in Columbus last week. So I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are there.
I mean, conventional wisdom would say it's Ryan, right? He had been banged up a little bit, not knowing the health situation. I guess it's a game where if you really wanted to see what AJ's all about, it would be a game that you could say, hey, let's throw him out there, because we don't really necessarily know who they're going to be playing. Our lineup's a little bit in flux. Maybe it is a game to kind of see what AJ is. I think, again, conventional wisdom would be Ryan gets the start. But I mean, maybe that changes, and maybe something in training over the course of this week opens the door for that to be a little bit of a question mark, or maybe that's a little bit of gamesmanship too, just to leave that question out there for Miami. Hey, we have no idea who's going to be in the net. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I don't know that that's the biggest factor in this game. I think
fair enough.
You can pick a ton of other things to explain on a little bit more and analyze a little bit more, maybe starting with the weather. That looks like it's going to be a little bit of an X factor coming into Saturday as well.
I mean, this team cannot catch a break, right? Playing the home opener in an absolute deluge last night at Montclair State. For those of you who weren't there, and I have a sense most of you weren't there, it was brutally cold. And now it appears that the only rain that we'll get over the next week is going to be precisely at game time on Saturday. And it also, I think it'll be too warm to snow, but it's going to be another big rain event. Marc de Grand Pré did everyone a solid by offering them either a $10 credit on their account for Red members or discounted tickets off a match in April where it just has to be better as a fan. I, for one, was overjoyed to see the number of fans it turned out for the home opener, despite the dreadful weather. It'll be interesting to see, with Messi not healthy or appearing, what impact that will have on the crowd, and if Jordi Alba, Suarez, and Busquets are enough to get a large size crowd there, man.
Shout out as well, Mark, since you opened it. I thought those that stuck around for the Open Cup game last night did Red Bull 2 a huge service by staying and being actively engaged with that Open Cup game. I mean, listen, to go back to the senior side of things, I thought the crowd against FC Dallas was great. I thought in voice, spirited, engaged. You probably would assume. Now, I think the one little twist in this, right, is if Messi is playing, you're going to see a lot of pink and black and or Argentina colors.
Yeah.
A lot of those people probably are now not coming to the game. Does it revert back to more of a true home game atmosphere, which I think is something that nobody's really talked about, and I think it could be something that plays a little bit of a role come Saturday.
That is, if in fact those season ticket holders that have already sold their tickets for multiples of what they would be at face value. I mean, I don't know if they're rushing to buy other seats to come and see the team, especially when it's going to be another dreadful weather day. So, but yeah, I think the team, probably the players that were in place last year, I can't imagine they were too happy of the crowd composition when Miami first came with Messi last year, because it was a very, very pro Inter Miami crowd. And as you said, they'll have an opportunity to hopefully get a home field advantage. It is amazing to me, and I'll close with this, just the reset that this team has done in a very short amount of time. Yes, they certainly got smoked in Columbus, and there's no way about that. That's what happened. But it feels like there's a lightness around the club. Part of it is Schwarz for sure. Part of it is Emil Forsberg. It seems like the club has almost reset for 2024. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think Sandro so far has been great. I think he's been engaging with people amongst the team. I've seen him with his players. He holds them accountable, but also knows when the mood can be a little bit lighter. I think he's done a great job in his media conversations. I think he's been very honest. He hasn't held back when needed. And I think a player like Forsberg has been a bit of I'll say a culture shock, but in a good way. Like, it's been a long time that Red Bull has had that player with that name, and a guy that in every conversation I have had with him, he seems so invested in making sure that Red Bull New York is as good as Red Bull Leipzig, where he obviously had done so well for the organization for so many years. And I think it's been great. And I think in a lot of ways it's taken some of the pressure off, ultimately still a really young roster, and put it on a player like Forsberg, who can carry it. He can carry the attention that he gets. I mean, you could ask him 20 questions and he's such a professional and such a pro. That's been great. And I'll tell you the one thing, that if whether you've been able to watch a game in person or you've been able to see a game on TV, probably in person would be a little bit better. Who comes from a little bit of a coaching background through my family and myself, I love watching him on the field act literally as another coach.
Yeah.
And listen, it's been talked about, Mark, that him coming from Leipzig, the idea of, hey, you're going to be in the Red Bull pressing system, that's not an issue for him. He understands it. He understands it better than probably everybody that's playing, right? Because he's done it at a different level on different teams, understands everything that goes into it. And he's a guy that I would say really does seem to be enjoying not just being in Major League Soccer, but really has taken to the metropolitan area, New York, New Jersey, and seems to really like being where he's at.
And in every conversation, all he says is, I just want to win. Right. It's he knows why he's here, and that's to lead and be a leader by example.
And he's adopted the New York Rangers as his hockey team, which is another really good thing and a good quality Sorry, Devil fans. As a Ranger fan, as I know you are as well, Mark.
Yes.
I've had quick conversations with him. He is such a hockey fan. I'm like, wait for playoff time because you've been to some regular season games. It gets pretty fun at MSG when the Rangers are good.
Absolutely. Matt Harmon is the play-by-play voice of Red Bulls Radio a decade in. Amazing. Matt, for those fans that may not know where to find Red Bulls Radio, where would they do that?
So you could go just on the website, and if you went on the regular website page and scroll towards the bottom, you'll see the radio kind of connection.
That's the Red Bulls website, just to be clear.
That's the Red Bulls website.
Yep.
If you haven't downloaded the new New York Red Bull app, we're a little bit more prominently displayed on that, which is great for the team to do. And each and every game, myself, Steve, we always send out the link on, I still say Twitter, X, if you wanted to go by that.
I'm not doing that.
We always put the information up on there. And, in this particular case on Saturday, you can listen to us on the home radio call on the Apple TV broadcast as well with the drop-down menu. So we're really easy to find. I know our time is coming to an end, Mark. I do laugh sometimes when people still are like, hey, is there a broadcast of the game? Yeah, we've been doing it for 10 years, and we're really easy to find. But if you have a question about it, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll make sure that I get you the proper link.
Awesome. Matt Harmon, thank you so much for joining us on Seeing Red. I know that we will have you back on this season, so thanks again.
Anytime, Mark. I'm always happy to come on and talk with you and love what you and Joe do with the podcast.
Very kind. The feeling is mutual. We will be back with more Seeing Red after this short break. We are back on Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Mark and Joe here, you there. Red Bulls, some of the Red Bulls are getting ready to play some of Miami this Saturday in another monsoon. Congrats to Red Bulls 2, who on a freezing night at Montclair Soccer Park that included a snow squall, because if this team franchise plays, the weather simply must be dreadful.
Yeah.
My daughter and I made it, I think, 40 minutes before I relented and said, let's vamoose after the second goal. Dylan Sullivan, stepbrother of Tyler Adams, got the opening goal for New York, and they rolled to a 5-1 victory over Tyler Adams' Hudson Valley Hammers side. It appears that they will be playing NYCFC 2, who are drilling FC Motown, and that will be interesting. It will be an early derby and must be played on a warmer night because I can't imagine it being played on a colder night. Joe, would you like the first email, or would you like me to read that one?
I will read the second one.
All right. So here's our friend Jordan Glass, who says, first of all, it's real easy to do. Write us at seeingredny@gmail.com. If you want to do it right after the game, that's a good time when your thoughts are all bubbly and you got all your bile coming up and you're just like, I got to get it. You got a spleen event. That's the time to write us. That's the good emails. Of course, if you want to take your time and calm down, maybe have some tea, think hard about what just happened, and then put your thoughts. Chamomile, really nice. Like a nice jasmine tea, maybe. And okay. Jordan Glass says, gents, well, all good things must come to an end. It would be easy to say the Red Bulls didn't play well, which, let's face it, they did not. But at the same time, this is a really good Columbus team. They clearly set the bar for what the Red Bulls need to do in order to compete this season. Regarding the individual players, there needs to be a better solution at right back. Duncan is just too hot and cold. Not Edelman's best showing. Sure, some great stuff, but terrible giveaways, heavy touches, and wayward passes. Easy to say after the game, but I think Schwartz should have subbed him in the 65th. For whom? Surprise of the night, Corey Burke. To see him come on the field and actually look like he wanted to be part of this team is awesome. He brought an intensity, but to no avail, especially given that Cangelosi made it sound like he was all but out the door. Curious what Burke's future holds with this team. I could see Burke meshing well with Forsberg in the middle. If Burke plays the hold-up striker role, something Forsberg will be familiar with given the time he spent on Leipzig with Yusuf Paulsen. And speaking of Paulsen, if the striker core cannot score, be on the lookout for him to be the next move from Leipzig to New York. He's getting up in age, and Leipzig may be looking to move him this summer. I recall some interviews a few years back that linked him to New York. He'd be a great fit for this team at the moment. Curious your thoughts, and always New York is red. Forgot to mention my bowl of the week. Weird one, but the entire team for being able to adjust plays so smoothly. Hats off to Schwartz and the team from changing from a 4-4-2 to a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-2-2-2 with such ease. The results weren't there, but it's awesome to see this team adapt in such a way. That's Jordan Glass. Thoughts, sir?
Paulson is someone I tweeted that Jesse better bring back Paulson from when he went during the 2015 season to Leipzig. I support it.
You support this message.
Yes.
And Jordan, we just I mean, yes, and we kind of talked about how Schwartz was trying to change things to adapt to just make things a little bit different, but the team kept, it's easy to do when you're losing 3-0 and you're like, we got to do something different here. And again, what you heard today out of the team was, we're not going to dwell on it. We're going to learn what we learned and focus on the next one. And that's what being a professional athlete is all about. And Joe has the next email.
This is Connor Naspo. Hi, Mark and Joe. Connor here, a first-time emailer. Yay. I've been a die-hard fan of the Red Bulls for as long as I can remember. And I mean die-hard. Being only 17, I know that's not too long compared to some other listeners. But I've grown up playing soccer at a pretty high level and been surrounded by it with my family. With that being said, I can still see that the game against Columbus was a disgrace to the name.
Oh,
I think we came in with too much confidence and didn't show any grit or determination. The way we played, I would think we were a freshman soccer team with our crush sitting in the stands. I don't know about you, but I always perform for my crush. On opening day, and we were all shotgunned a Red Bull 5 minutes before we went on, aka completely flustered and rushing the ball in transition. Yeah. To be completely honest, I don't even know if I want to watch the Miami game to spare myself the yelling and the shouting with my dad at the TV. What do you think the biggest weakness was, and what do you think the best takeaway was? Enjoy the week, Connor Naspo. What do you think the greatest or the biggest weakness was?
Yeah, I mean, I think the New York lost the midfield battle completely, and I think, credit to Darlington Nagbe and again Aiden Morris for being so comfortable on the ball. I mean, you cannot take the ball away from Darlington Nagbe. You just can't. And they completely were very comfortable moving into open space, collecting the ball, finding open men. They were moving off the ball, which is something the New York really struggle with.
Keeping it wide.
Yeah, keeping it wide. I again, it's been a number of years since we've had a start like this. And so I think it's very easy to get very excited and to say, we're back, baby. Here we go. It's 2018 all over again. And this team's going to compete for trophies. And, it was their third of 4 games away, and they're playing the champion on their home field. There were a number of people on social media that were, doing the whole, oh no, we suck again meme and saying all my stuff's going back in the closet. I can't be seen. Look, I absolutely appreciate the passion, and I think the Red Bulls need as many passionate fans as possible. But I think you need to take a step back a little bit, and not just you, Connor, but everybody, and just say it's a long season. You can't be your best every single time out. I agree with you that the team did not show the grit and the fight. I think they ran up against a team that is not new in playing together with their superstars being new. I think they're a team that knew each other much, much better than the Red Bulls know themselves. And I think that showed.
Yeah.
And what do you think, Joe?
I think, well, two things. The best takeaway is the debut of
Dennis Shangor.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It showed in limited spaces how he can combine. The touch wasn't there, but I think it will come. And I want to encourage you to watch the Miami game
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter. The
No.
pressure's off. Guys got to get minutes. You can see the future of Red Bull. Take a step back and don't care about that game at
Yeah,
all.
it's really hard to say this is the best that New York has because 5 really important players for New York aren't going to be there, and
Yeah.
so don't allow yourself to get too high or too low based on what you see. I mean, the points would be great if we can get some, but if not, it's not a vote on. It's not an example of what this team is or can be. But Connor, as a 17-year-old, I want to thank you for putting together your well thought out email. And thank you for your support of the show. Well done. And first time. Good stuff. Tom Malone says, hey, Mark and Joe. Oh, but I don't need to tell you if you're listening to this, the U.S. won 3-1 to extra time goals by Haji Wright. And they're on to the final. And again, wow. Okay. Tom Malone says, hey, Mark and Joe, it's good to have my favorite source for all things Red Bull back in my podcast feed for the 24-25 season. Awesome. Does the season go till 25? I mean,
no.
we'll be here next year too. But I recently subscribed to your YouTube channel to support. Thank you. And everyone should do this. It will make everyone's life so much better if you subscribe to us on YouTube. I think one of the main reasons we took a loss to Columbus is because of the coaching, specifically in regards to our pressing. Our press looked very different than in past games and started with our forwards. Typically, we press all the way to the opposition goalie and oftentimes try to force opposing defenders to one of the sidelines where we can trap them. However, against Columbus, I watch our front line, especially Elias Manuel, pressing very passively. He looked constantly over his shoulder to see where Nagby was and didn't move out of the passing lane. When approaching slowly to press, I assuming this is a deliberate coaching instruction. The same was going on for other players when Manuel was marking someone else. I feel like this because of this I feel like because of this passive press, focusing so much on marking one player, we were less effective on everyone else. What are your thoughts? Also, any insight on the transfer rumors or rumors to MLS changing rules regarding designated players? Thank you for your continued dedication to seeing red. It's the best. That's Tom Malone. A quality point picked out by Tom. What are your thoughts on forwards pressing?
I think it was a deliberate coaching decision because you saw the game that we all saw.
Yeah.
Columbus was moving the ball and with such ease that over pressing, it could have been 7-0, 8-0 if you were allowed to press all the way. And they kind of avoided it, but still got opened up and shredded. So it could have been worse.
Yeah. It could have been worse. And agreed. Schwartz is not certainly above taking responsibility for the loss as well. And he said, I got it wrong. The whole team got it wrong. It wasn't good tonight. The effort wasn't there. And, we'll go back and be better. It's his fourth match at the helm of the team. So
I think with the way the first 3 games have gone, there's a time in the match where Red Bull looked to simply kick it out of their zone, and maybe tired legs from that for like the last 20 minutes of Dallas for the last
They're not up to full fitness
yeah,
yet.
15 minutes of the game against Houston, and it was like holding on for dear life. So I think that is largely responsible.
Fair enough. Thank you, Tom. Do you want the next one, or would you like me to have it?
Yeah,
It's up to you.
I can get it.
Great.
Paul Fleck. Hey guys, first off, to help with a listener email last week, though I'm hesitant to share my secrets, we have been parking in the Bergen Street lots in Harrison for years. About 10 minutes walk, $15 cash, and literally 20 feet from the on-ramp going back west into New Jersey. So you missed the traffic.
I'm deleting this clip.
Second,
I'm not. Yes.
Second, what do you guys make of the Timo Werner rumors? Over the past few days, it sounds like Tottenham will exercise their purchase clause. But would this not be the signing everyone has been clamoring for up top? Perfect summer boost to really push us forward. I know there are some other financial hurdles and DP buydowns to fit the roster rules, but a boy can dream, right? Keep up the good work, fellas.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah.
I don't think, I know that Timo is a good player. I think he's maybe past his prime.
Did he have a prime?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, once he made the jump to England, I mean, listen,
yeah,
no one played
was
well
over.
at Chelsea when he was there. And, Pulisic's having the year of his life at Milan once he got out of Chelsea as well, although certainly not tonight. But, yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah. But, yeah, with Red Bull Leipzig, until he got over to Chelsea, he was having the time of his life, and he looked like the answer to Germany's prayers.
Yeah.
And it all evaporated. And I know he has a lot of international experience and league experience, but I don't think that he's the answer to our forward situation.
Yeah, and Tottenham's going to exercise, as you said, Paul. They're picking up his options, so he's not going to be available. In a world of goal-scoring players, the team is clearly looking for help. I think it will most likely come during the summer window. I think it will be a young player. I don't think it's going to be a name that you recognize. And I think with a healthy Lewis and with Yengor, who we will see more of, I think he could be really exciting for us. And so, I think I'd just sit tight. But thank you for the note, Paul. We appreciate it. We've come to an end of another great Seeing Red episode number 567. Thanks go out certainly to Zach Feldman for his stats, for Matt Harmon for stopping by, for everyone that liked and subscribed, and for everyone that wrote emails this week. Thank you so much. Joe calls Saturday 2 p.m. arc building exercise at Harrison in another downpour. A
2-0 loss.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I'm going to call it a 2-2 draw just for S's and G's. I want to thank you so much, Joe. Have a fantastic week. We will be back next week. This is a tough stretch. Miami this week, Cincinnati next. This is, it'll get better soon. The opponents will get. I mean, as Matt Harmon said, this run, Columbus, Miami, Cincinnati, no favors, but we'll have these teams kind of out of the way. The New York is still above the line, which, as we know, didn't happen until game 34 asterisk last year. So thanks so much for listening to Seeing Red, everyone, and watching on YouTube. Have a great night. Bye-bye.